This is the school room, and it depicts what the actual classrooms looked like in the early 1900s. You can see some of the early desks have the hole in the top for the ink wells that were used with feather pens to write with, and other fountain pens, as they were called. And moving on around, there were actual blackboards. That was the color of the blackboard. And there were some interesting things about those days. This is a sample of the contract that teachers, female teachers, had to sign in order to teach. This was from 1923. Just share a couple of the things that the expectations that were required. Teachers were not to get married. This contract becomes null and void if the teacher marries. Teachers may not leave town at any time without permission of the chairman of the Board of Trustees. And teachers may not dye her hair or may not dress in bright colors. So there were some very strict requirements of teachers in those days. The banner on the wall, the large banner, shows Irene Corbett, who taught here at Peteetneet, and she also became noteworthy because after she got married and had children, she had to change her profession. She chose to become a nurse and to receive her nurse's training in England. And so she, upon returning, completing her training, she returned and thought she would find the safest mode of travel that she could. And she heard about the Titanic, which was a brand new ship, and she booked passage on it, and we all know the outcome of that decision. So she did not return. She was not in the top level where access to lifeboats were plentiful, but so she did not survive the sinking of the Titanic. This little section is just various artifacts, pioneer artifacts, saws. There's a cluster of batteries that were the early batteries that were used by the telephone wires in the days that they were first introduced. Payson was one of the earliest towns in Utah to install electric lights as well. And so those batteries were used there as well. And some other artifacts of the day. And this corner is dedicated to the Payson Tabernacle, which was constructed and dedicated in 1907. The large window is one of those from the tabernacle, a pulpit from that, as well as some benches that actually were in the tabernacle. And on the wall behind these two gentlemen is a painting of the earliest settlers of Payson. You can recognize Mount Loafer in the back. And that was the early saints when they arrived and began to establish the city of Payson. Here we have a shovel that was used in the construction of the Payson Temple. It was at the dedication, a ceremonial shovel. And then there's a nice photo of the earliest days of Peteetneet when it was brand new. There was no construction, there was no landscaping around it, and the new addition, of course, was not yet there. And this is Payson High School, which was located where the swimming pool now is, back in the early days.